Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, just want to be sure my speaker is working today.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Medistab, let's grow wealth for you.
only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
The only way to move is up, the way to go, the top. You've come this far.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation and the generation after that. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
Metastab, let's grow wealth for you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for today. Today is an exciting day, and I'm so glad you can join us. My name is Tolulope Babatunde, and it's my pleasure to serve as your moderator for our discussion. The title of our webinar is Long-Term Care, the Unplanned Realities, and I'm especially pleased with the topic because looking at the word long-term, it means something is extending over or it involves a long period of time. We all do not know what the future looks like. Several uncertainties might come to play and adequate planning is needed. Life generally flies past, and before we all know it, we have reached our golden years. So a question we should always ask ourselves at every point in time is, have we made sufficient plans for when we're unable to physically care for ourselves anymore or for our loved ones, parents and guardians? And at today's webinar, we'll be addressing all your concerns from a medical perspective and also from a financial perspective. How can we provide solutions for tackling the uncertainties that accompany long-term care? How can one navigate such challenges? We'll be looking at the definition of long-term care, realities of long-term care in Nigeria and globally, the facilities available, How can we plan our finances towards all of these unplanned realities? And how generally can we plan our healthcare and how to maintain a healthy lifestyle? So you can see it's going to be a very, very interesting webinar session. And during the course of the webinar too, we'll have a question and answer session. And we invite you to share your question and comments in the chat box, and we'll aim to address it during the Q&A session. Another thing with what we're going to do today, we are going to have two speakers, and I'm so excited because I'm going to introduce two esteemed speakers for today. They are speakers I greatly admire, and I count it as a great privilege to welcome these two, who are captains of their respective industries. They are vast, they are seasoned with a huge wealth of experience, and they are ready to do justice to our topic for today. We have here with us Sulaiman Adedokun, who is the Managing Director of Meristem Wealth Management Limited. He's not strange to some of us, especially to someone like me. He's my boss. He's a senior colleague who I greatly admire. His profile is being displayed right now, and I'm going to read his profile to us all. Sulaiman Adedokun is a strategic business leader. He's a C-suite leader. He started his career with Security Swaps Limited and later Nigerian Stockbrokers Limited, a subsidiary of Now Bank PLC, from where he joined on Meristem Securities Limited. He pioneered the establishment of Meristem Wealth Management Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of Meristem Securities Limited in 2008, and currently manages the wealth management firm. Sulaiman is a CFA chartered holder, a member of the CFA Institute and Society of Nigeria, and a seasoned accountant with a wealth of experience spanning across the various sectors of the capital markets. He holds degrees both in accounting and banking and finance. He's an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, and fellow of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, CIS. He's also an authorized dealing clerk on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, NSE. Sulaiman has attended several local and international trainings, including practical portfolio management for equities and bonds, Beaufort Institute of Business Training Limited in South Africa, certificate in financial asset management and engineering, CFE-FEME in Lucerne, Switzerland. He also attended a general management program course, GMP 10 2011, at the prestigious Harvard Business School, USA, as well as participating in the following training programs from the school: Risk Management for Corporate Leaders in December 2013, Driving Performance Through Talent Management 2015, and Leveraging FinTech Innovation to Grow and Compete in 2019. He's an alumnus of Harvard Business School, HBS. He also participated in an executive training program on leading and sustaining a culture of innovation by Northwestern University, Kellogg's in 2021. Sulaiman is a dual driver and a winner on all sides. He's a Deputy Group Managing Director of Meristem Securities Limited, overseeing operations of the group. Join me in welcoming Sulaiman Adedokun, CFA, to today's webinar. Sulaiman, good afternoon.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this session.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Sulaiman. Thanks for gracing today's occasion. So I'll quickly move on to our second speaker. One fascinating thing about him is being a humanitarian who is a giant in his profession is that after working as a medical practitioner for 33 years, he left the comfort of life in America at the big remuneration and relocated to Nigeria 5 years ago. That's one thing that really fascinates me. Dr. Eugene Eunwosu, his profile is being displayed, so I'm going to just read briefly before I introduce, as I'm introducing him. MBBS, FACC, FACP, FAHA. Dr. Eunwosu is a seasoned cardiologist with over 33 years of postgraduate medical training and cardiology practice in the United States of America. He moved back to Nigeria in January 2017 because of his commitment to making a difference in his medical profession, especially in his specialty area of cardiovascular diseases. After completing his internal medicine residency, he was the chief resident of internal medicine, Cook Country Hospital, Chicago, Illinois. He then obtained his cardiology fellowship training from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, Wisconsin. He practiced cardiology for 25 years at Savannah Heart and South Coast Health, Georgia, and was the chief of cardiologist at Candler Hospital, Savannah, Georgia, from January 1999 to December 2000. He's a diplomat of the American Board of Internal Medicine, subspecialty of cardiovascular diseases, a fellow of the American College of Physicians, American College of Cardiology, and American Heart Foundation. He's the founder of United Heart Hospital and Clinics located at Victoria Island, Lagos, and the founder and CEO of Goodness and Mercy Foundation, which organizes medical missions to Nigeria and Ghana since 2021. Without further ado, help me welcome our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Eugene A. Nwosu. Dr. Nwosu, welcome to today's webinar.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, sir. So the onus is now on you to comment today's webinar. I'm sure we have so much to learn with regards to today's topic, and I'm leaving the floor over to you. So, and thank you very much, our attendees too. I'm sure today's session is definitely going to be insightful. It's going to be interesting. All your questions and concerns, we have a chat box where you can actually drop it during the course of the webinar, and we'll definitely address it as soon as the presentation is over. Thank you very much, Dr. Mo.
Okay. All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you.
Okay. I sent you the slides. Are you going to control the slide, or I can control it?
We'll control the slide, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to be part of this seminar, this important discussion. Next slide, please. All right. So my focus is going to be on the medical aspect, and Mr. Suleiman will now do the financials. What it takes to have a comfortable, fulfilling long-term care. Before I go into this, let me just share you a few facts about life. Before I came back to Nigeria, the way it goes in America is at the peak of your career, you have a very big house, maybe 6 bedroom mansion with swimming pool and everything. You live in a Gulf community. You have children, they are in elementary school, then from there they go to high school. From high school, now they go to college. Guess what? Once they go to college, they don't come back. They visit Thanksgiving, which is a very short holiday, and probably for 5 days at most. And they come for Christmas, and it's probably for about a week. For most of the time, they are not home. You have this big home with your wife. You're just occupying one room and then the kitchen and the dining area. And after maybe 4, 5, 6 years, you come to your senses. Why do I have to keep this big home? So you downsize. You move to a 3-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom house or apartment or condo or whatever. And you stay there, and time goes on. You start aging, you start losing your mobility, and you start getting weak, and at some point you can't maintain that anymore. Yeah, you now move to an independent living, which is retirement home. It has facilities there. At some point you get weak, maybe one of you, dies off, you or your wife, either one, and then you can't take care of yourself. You now move to assisted living, where you will rent a self-contained apartment, it's a group home, and they provide all the facilities for you, assist you with activities of daily living. And then at some point you get very sick that they can't take care of you. You have to go into nursing home, or you go into nursing home, and then from there, maybe you move on. So basically, long-term care in reality is planning for your sunset. All of us are gonna dwindle over time. Another crude way of saying it is that we're going to move from a mansion and slowly decline on our way to a graveyard. So it's very important we think about our mortality. We are not going to be here forever. So it's good to plan ahead. Do you have all the funds it takes? Do you know what things you need? Do you have a will? Do you have asset management? All these things are important when you are talking about sunset years, or what we call long-term care. So So this focus is going to be long-term care definition and all entails, planning for your health care in old age, how to maintain a quality lifestyle, retirement community settings, what is the idea, and what are the realities in Nigeria? What do we have in Nigeria? And next, please. So we are talking about people, generally speaking, people 60 and above. This population map of the world shows that in Japan, 30% or more of Japanese people are age 60 and above. In Europe, especially the Scandinavians, is about 25 to 29%. But in Nigeria, in Africa, it's less than 10%. In Nigeria, it's only 5% of people in Nigeria are 60 and older. And of course, that also has something to do with life expectancy. Our life expectancy in Nigeria is about 55 years of age. So that is quite terrible, but hopefully with improvement in socioeconomic status and healthcare availability, we can actually do better. Next, please. All right, so as we age, things are going to catch up with us. We're going to have decrease in productivity. We're going to have decrease in motility due to decreasing muscle mass. We have decrease in our sensory function affecting our vision and our hearing, decrease in cognitive function affecting our memory and speed of information processing, decrease in sexuality, but some persons, as I will show you in the next slide, will actually remain sexually active well into the advanced age. We have decrease in skin texture due to progressive loss of collagen and elastic fibers. That's why some elderly people, you give them aspirin, they bleed, they have dark blotches on their skin, which is actually bleeding into the subcutaneous tissue because of the loss of the skin texture. Next, please. Now, talking about sexuality, in one of the studies that we have done, 75 years to 85 years, 23% are still sexually active and reported having sex at least once a week or more. I am telling you, seeing people in Nigeria at 50, some young men can't even have an erection. So in order to achieve this sexuality, you have to be in very good cardiovascular shape, because having an erection for a man, your vascular state has to be healthy. So if you can achieve good cardiovascular health, you can actually maintain sexuality well into your 85 years or more. Next, please. Next slide. So the last slide I told you about the decline, the functional decline that comes with age. It affects all of us, but the rate of deceleration can be, is different for different people depending on how health conscious you are. But when we get old, things catch up with us. Old people have more diseases. They have more depression and anxiety. They have difficulty with sleeping, insomnia. They develop Alzheimer's, dementia, and also other types of dementia affecting their memory, poor oral and dental hygiene due to increased neglect. I see some very rich people in Lagos here, very rich, but their dental hygiene is very terrible. In fact, I refer them to dentists and instruct them to have a dental cleaning at least twice a year. It's not that they don't have the money, it's just dental and due to neglect. Malnutrition is key. The other day, I just saw a lady that weighs 41 kg. 41 kg. I said, no. I had to cancel her nutrition. She needs to eat more so that she can increase her weight and muscle mass. Elderly people are very frail and they fall frequently. This is a problem. So I can tell you with experience, while I was in the United States, there was a study that was done where elderly people that are very frail and they fall easily, they had to actually leave their home and admitted into the nursing home. In nursing home, they did on a clinical trial or experiment where they, randomize, they choose people that they offer physical therapy 3 or 4 times a week, and the other one continue with usual care with no physical therapy. Surprisingly, after 3 months of physical therapy, they regained their strength and they were not falling, and they had to go back to their home. So physical therapy, as we're going to talk about, is one of the components of the environment that you provide for healthy aging. Healthy age, older people also have urinary incontinence. Some of them are beginning to wear diapers. And chronic medical diseases are more common. Heart disease, hypertension, stroke, diabetes, lung disease, emphysema and COPD, cancer, arthritis, osteoporosis, Parkinson's disease, and many more. Also in elderly people, you have mortal morbidity defined as having 2 or more chronic conditions. And that will lead to polypharmacy defined as taking 5 or more medications. Very easy. There are some old people that are taking 10 medications. Why is that possible? And when you take many medications, you can have side effects and interaction. But these are possible because an elderly person that has high blood pressure may need 3 or 4 medications to control the blood pressure. He has diabetes, he may need 2 or 3. Okay, and then he has heart failure, he has that. So by the time you know it, people are taking 10, 15 medications. It's not ideal, but lifestyle changes can actually modify and help to improve the condition and decrease the amount of medications you take. So the goal will be to take less than 5 medications if possible. Next, please. Now, American Heart Association recently came with what they call Life's 8 Essential. So we're gonna go through that quickly. But Life's 8 Essential will improve and maintain your cardiovascular health. And that can help you enjoy a longer, healthier, better life that is associated with decreased risk for heart disease, stroke, cancer, dementia, and other major health. Let me just tell you that if you can maintain a good cardiovascular health, it can also lead to decreasing the risk of cancer and other diseases because all these things are related. Next, please. So what are the life, essential 8? Diet, eat better. Each of these is a 1-hour lecture by itself. So I won't spend time, I'm just gonna mention them. Healthy eating is very important, especially vegetable and fruits and whole food, and avoiding processed food. Be more active. Regular exercise, not once a week or twice a week. You have to exercise 4 to 5 times a week, and each session should be at least 45 minutes of moderate intensity. Sleep is a big one. For adults, recommended sleep time is 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Very important, especially for everybody, but for elderly people, you have to get enough sleep. Manage your weight. Obesity is now very common in Nigeria. Even poor people are obese, rich people are obese. Poor people are obese because of bad choices, because they don't afford it. Rich people are obese because of affluence. They eat too much, okay? So you have to manage your weight. Cholesterol is very important. All this controversy, cholesterol, there is nothing like, bad cholesterol. That is not true. It's a 1-hour lecture. You don't have to have a total cholesterol of 300. You are clogging up your arteries, and that's leading to heart attack. Blood sugar is important to make sure you don't have diabetes. If you do have diabetes, manage it. Blood pressure is very important. Hypertension is the black race, and Nigeria is the hypertension capital of the world. That drives the cardiovascular disease. And of course, tobacco. There is no benefit to tobacco, okay? Unfortunately, I say that everybody in Lagos smokes because of pollution. There's so much pollution in Lagos that people are getting lung disease and they never smoked before. All these, lack of emission control and pollution, too much. Next, please. Now, healthy aging. Every person in every country in the world should have the opportunity to live a long and healthy life. Yet the environment in which we live can favor health or be harmful. For example, pollution, violence. You live in an environment when it's not even safe to go out and exercise or take a walk because you may be mobbed or kidnapped. Those things affect their healthy aging. Healthy aging is about creating the environment and opportunities that enable people to be and do what they value throughout their life. Everybody can experience healthy aging. Being free of disease or infirmity is not a requirement for healthy aging, as many older adults have one or more health conditions that, when properly controlled, have little influence on their well-being. So that is our target. Good medical care and all those things. Even when you have diseases, they can be managed so that you can enjoy long-term care and healthy living. Next, please. So what are we talking about long-term care? Long-term care has to do with interaction between intrinsic capacity and environment. When we talk about environment, our environment is not just the building or their facilities, things that will lead to functional ability. So intrinsic capacity we are going to talk about, and then we see the type of environment you need to create in order to enjoy your sunset years. Next, please. So what is functional ability? Functional ability consists of the intrinsic capacity of the individual, relevant environment characteristics, and the interaction between the two. Intrinsic capacity has to do with your mental and physical capacity that you can draw on, and includes ability to walk, think, see, hear, and remember, your memory. The level of intrinsic capacity is influenced by several factors, such as the presence of disease, injuries, and age-related changes. Now, the environment, which is big here, include your home, the community, broader society, and factors within them, such as built environment, the people, the relationship, the attitude, the values, the health, the social policy, the system that support them, and the services that they implement. So it's important when you're talking about long-term care, you're going to talk about the environment. Then you have to talk about the intrinsic capacity, because if you're very frail and you have all this environment with, tennis court and long, you won't enjoy it. If you are in good mental condition, but you don't have the environment where you can enjoy it. So you can't talk about long-term care without talking about intrinsic capacity and the environment, the interaction between the two. Next, please. So we can skip this. Next. So when we talk about long-term care, World Health Organization has a program called Integrated Care for Older Persons. And it's very detailed. It gives you the requirement, all you need to have a very functional and effective long-term care program. And the core, the beginning of this is universal health coverage, is the foundation. Now, it does not exist in Nigeria, unfortunately. Even in countries like United States and other advanced countries, the coverage varies. In America, the coverage is not that great because they will cover your healthcare needs, then above certain costs, it will not be covered. So you need to have supplemental insurance to do that. In countries like Scandinavian countries in Europe, it covers a lot more. In fact, you don't even pay out of pocket. Everything is covered. Your medication is 100%. There is no cap. There is no limit. And even when you are weak and you are frail and you are home, they will cover for other services like nursing visit at home, even people to cover activities of daily living, like assisting you to take your bath and clean your house. Some of these countries cover all this, but for other countries, you have to have supplemental owner insurance. In Nigeria, I don't think it exists at all. Okay, so supplemental insurance is very important. So in a place like America, you have that. And then you can also have disability insurance that can pick up some of that. So your insurance agents in those countries will tell you how to maximize this so that you get that insurance, and when you need it, you don't have to pay out of pocket because it's all covered. So now it's also important to have funds from your asset management. You have enough fund to cover your needs in your sunset years. Okay, so other costs will include nursing home costs, social care, and sometimes there's what we call hospice care. People that are dying, they are basically in the last 6 months of their life. They require a lot of care, and it's so much stress on the family. The family cannot handle the stress. So they go in a very quiet, good environment where they are professionally cared for. They make sure they are not dying in pain, give them enough medication to take care of their pain. Their family have access there, stay with them, pray with them until they pass away. Over there, people don't die at home, they die at hospital. But in Nigeria, most people with such needs will actually end up dying at home. And it's a lot of stress on the family. You know, most family, in fact, the caregiver end up having illness from such, trauma. So, and long-term care, you also have to optimize the access to needed care. It has to be available. If it is physical therapy, it's available. If it is eye service, optometry, dental service, your exercise program, and beautiful environment to work, in the garden, and have a walking trail. All these things are provided in the environment. Okay, so the ideal environment that people live and conduct their life. So in the subsequent slide, we're going to look at some of the components that will provide an ideal environment for retirement. Next, please. So now, the point is that we're going to have declining function as we age, but we should be able to optimize those capacities and try to support them. Vitality, regular exercise, some people may need to hire a coach. There's nothing wrong if you have it, hire a coach and have a program, maybe 3 times a week, you work out. That's going to help your locomotor capacity and your vitality. Regular eye checkup so that you correct if it is, you need a new glass or you have glaucoma, you have your eye doctor that take care of that so that you don't go blind. Hearing capacity, some people lose their hearing. They should be able to have hearing check, audiogram, and then provide a hearing aid if that is necessary. Cognitive capacity, interaction with your other peers, with reading a book and teaching you new ideas, and even learn in your old age. That will help to decline your cognitive capacity, to prevent the decline. Psychological capacity, interaction with other elderly people, have a group outing, excursion, to just enjoy life. You may even have a speaker on a popular topic come to the facility and give a lecture or have a concert. All those things are available if you have the funds to do that. Next, please. So integrated care for older people, ICOPE, this is a program by World Health Organization, and for each of these problems, there's a pathway to improve them. Okay, and what is interesting here is cognitive decline. There's a pathway to improve it, improve mobility, malnutrition, visual impairment, hearing loss, depression, social support. There's also a pathway to support the caregiver, especially if they are family members. They should be supported because this can wear them out and they become sick from taking care of their loved ones. So, and this also needs to be personalized. It's not a one program that fits all because people's needs are different. So there's a way to assess people and meet their needs. So it's not a program that is just blank, for everybody. All right, next, please. So this is a public health framework for healthy aging, opportunities for public health action across the life course. You start with high and stable capacity. Over time, you have declining capacity, and then you lose that capacity significantly, and when you start getting sick. And there are three things here. One is the health services to support it. One is long-term care when you need it, and the other one is the environment, even at the time of your high and stable capacity. Assessing your regular medical checkup that will address your chronic medical conditions so that they can ensure early detection and treatment. Then your environment, at your healthy place, regular physical activity, eating well, social interactions, they will promote your capacity enhancing behaviors. Now, when the decline comes with time, all these services will ramp up to support it so that it can slow the decline or actually correct the decline. So finally, when it's now the end time, significant loss of capacity, health services will also ramp it up. More services, availability, and then your long-term care, depending on where you are, then you will be at the right place. Is it assisted living, or is it hospice care, or is it home health care, nursing home care? All these things depend on the stage where you are. And at each step, the environment will remove barriers to participation so that you can compensate for the loss of capacity. So health services, long-term care, and environment is key at every stage of this. Next, please. So, and I like this because this is a very simple tool to have an assessment. Cognitive decline. Everybody can do it. One of them is, remember 3 words. They can give you flour, dough, or rice and tell you to remember this. After maybe 5 minutes, they ask you. Orientation, do you know the full date of today? What is the time? Are you in the clinic? Are you in the market? Are you at home? And they tell you to recall the 3 words. Limited mobility, chair rise test. Rise from chair 5 times without using your arms. Can you do that or not? Now, did the person complete 5 chair rises within 14 seconds? Okay, if you fail any of this, then you need help. Malnutrition. Have you intentionally lost more than 3 kilograms over the last 3 months? Appetite. Have you experienced loss of appetite? The same thing, there are questions for visual impairment, questions for hearing loss, and questions for depression. Anybody can go through this and dictate whether you fail it or pass. When you fail it, you need help to correct that. Next, please. So this is just what I see. It's interesting. Nigeria is there. Characteristics of caregivers and care arrangements for community-based care of dependent older people. China, Mexico, Nigeria, Peru. This is a long time, 2003 to 2008. But in Nigeria, we focus that 14% of the caregivers are spouses. Okay, 68% are child or in-law, and only 1% is non-relative. And 63% of the caregivers are female. Okay, and 39% of those had to reduce their work in order to provide care. At this time of inflation and naira scarcity or whatever, I don't see people decreasing their work to do that. They will actually starve to death unless they have other sources of income. Next, please. So there are different needs in retirement communities. So retirement communities, sometimes you start with 2 or 3 or 4 bedroom functional homes in a big community. So people will buy the homes or rent the homes or whatever, and the environment provides everything they need for fantastic life. People that want luxurious home, there are some retirements that are very luxurious too. If you need that, it's available. And then there are people that need full service hostel type single rooms with private baths, common areas like sitting room, dining room, gym, play area, ideal for functional senior citizens. Okay, so they have people that take care of them, clean their room, do their, feeding. They have a common area for dining. They can interact with other people. These people are functional. They don't have dementia. They don't have any problem with memory, and they can interact and do things together. Now, there is also an independent living, and there is assisted. Independent living is what it is. You have your own home. You can take care of a lot of things. Things you can do, you can pay for it, and it's done for you. Okay? So if you want cleaning services, the cleaning services will come. If you want people to take care of the lawn area outside so they don't worry about it, all those things are done. Trash. So it depends on what you want, and you pay for those things. Assisted living, of course, is assisted living because you can't take a bath. Somebody needs to help take a bath. Somebody needs to help dress you. Sometimes somebody even needs to help feed you. Okay? And your family members can visit freely, and the environment is so nice. It's very clean, and you can associate and interact with other senior citizens. Okay? And then there's also group adult foster care. There are different models of this. Next, please. So this chart is just telling you the difference between independent living and assisted living. We can skip this. Next, please. So community design for retirement. I don't really think there's anything like this in Nigeria. Maybe Marystand can pioneer this, okay? So it's going to be a multiple buildings spread out on a large campus with adequate security, clean water supply, and 24-hour power supply. It could be apartments or cottages or homes of different variety, depending on people's need and affordability. It should have a clubhouse, recreation center, if possible, golf course, tennis courts, swimming pool, bicycling, walking trails. And it should have nature with gardens and parks so that people can actually, there's harmony in nature when you can actually go to a park and see the flowers, and it's actually medicinal, it is therapeutic, it is healing to have such natural beauty around you. Maybe it might even be a pool or an artificial lake. People can walk around the lake and just create some nice natural atmosphere within the same retirement community. And they should have small libraries because people need to exercise their brain, read newspaper, read some books and all that. You should have cafe, restaurant, and gaming rooms. Other people might even have a movie theater. They might even have an event center that they can invite, some good programs for people that, in the community want to enjoy it. So on-site healthcare is important. Primary care or geriatric care is mandatory. They also have in-home care. Post-acute care, like people have surgery in the hospital and then they are discharged 5 days after, and they need to have physical therapy. If that center, retirement center, has a physical therapy, they will go there and get it done instead of leaving the center. And also, they should have pharmacy, dental care, optometry for eye check, and they have a fitness center with professionals to help older people gain and preserve their function. This is important because as you're getting older, if you have the money, hire a coach 3 times a week that can help and have a program for you so that you can keep up your strength and your muscle mass. When you lose your muscle mass, that's when you fall very easily and become very frail. So regular exercise and with a professional can actually slow down the decline. And such centers, we have a registered nurse 24/7. And there should be ambulance service with affiliation to reputable hospitals around. Okay, so you should know that there are good hospitals that when there is need, ambulance can take people to such hospitals. Next, please. So the realities of long-term care in Nigeria, this slide summarizes that. Aging is associated with functional decline and health and social support needs. Traditionally, the responsibility of providing long-term care and support for older persons has been accepted by African families. However, modernization, urbanization, and increased participation of women in the workforce has led to a reduction in available family caregivers for older people. Consequently, many families are either unable or unavailable to provide long-term care and support for their people. Let me tell you, some years ago, while I was in the United States, I think it was either President Nixon that died or Ford, one of them, and they're having commendation service in California by the Presidential Library. And almost all living United States, past presidents were there. And Ronald Reagan was there. At that time, Reagan was already demented. If you see how pitiful he looked at that, he didn't have a clue what was going on. The face tells you it was so blank, and sometimes you see some drooling coming out of his mouth. And shortly after that, Reagan died, and there was an interview with Mrs. Reagan, and she talked about how difficult it was to watch your loved one lose it in your eyes, slowly declining. It was difficult for them, even with, past United States president. So it's not they don't have the care, but it is not easy for the family. And yet, she had the resources to have the best care for Ronald Reagan, but it's not easy to take care of loved ones that are dying. And that is why hospice center is good, so that you take the burden from people, doing it at home. Next, please. So I tried to Google this to find out the list of elderly care homes and home care agencies in Nigeria. And these are what I found. There was one in Abuja, Grace Nursing Care Center. There is Ascent Care Home Care Agency in Lagos, and others. Listen, I can't recommend any of it because I did not visit. To choose any of this, you need to go there and see for yourself. See the environment, see the type of staff they have, how qualified they are, or what are the facilities they have, and all that stuff. But they are in Nigeria, but not at the scale that I'm recommending that Meristem should look into it. I've been to a lot in America. Sun City is a good one. It's around Hilton Hills, South Carolina, very close to Savannah. Beautiful place to site a retirement home. People retiring from New York and Boston and all those places, they are moving down to that area. There's one close to Atlanta, Sun City, and also Arizona. Scottsdale, Arizona is another retirement capital of America. There is beautiful retirement homes there. So there are models to look into, but the environment is superb, very superb. Okay, next slide, please. So this is one of them, the Grace Nursing Care Center in Abuja. Just going by the picture on the internet, this is one of the best I can see. Next, please. And conclusion. Before choosing any elderly care home for your aged loved ones, you should do more detailed research on the care home. You can, from friends or colleagues at work, when choosing one, you should consider location, size, services, what they offer, number of staff they have, check if they have any other care violation history. You want what is best for your aged ones. So you must be careful to do your research, ask questions, and go and visit before you decide. But as I said, I don't think there is anything at the scale I'm talking about that we have available in Nigeria. I don't think there is, but it's about time to have them. I think I'm going to stop here, and if there are any questions or interaction or discussion or comment, I'll invite you to do that. Next, please. And finally, last slide for me. Next. All right, discussion and questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nwosu. It was very, very insightful. It was educative. It was enlightening. I actually took my 8 key takeaways where he said the life essential 8. I should eat better, be more active, get healthy sleep, manage my weight, control cholesterol, manage blood sugar, manage blood pressure, and quit tobacco. Thank you very, very much. Before we proceed to the question and answer, I would move to the next speaker, Sulaiman Adedoku, to just give us a brief overview of the financial perspective. Dr. Eugene, who also has actually done justice to the medical perspective of long-term care. So I want the second speaker to just speak briefly on that, then we will move to the question and answer session. We have quite a number of questions that has been dropped on the Q&A box and the chat box. And I also implore the attendees, please, you can be dropping your questions while the second speaker is speaking before we proceed to the Q&A session time. Thank you very much. Sulaiman Adedoku, over to you, please.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen again. Thank you, Dr. Nwosu, for that insightful presentation. Mine is just to bring the perspective from the financials and investment and actually taking a clue from what some of the clients you used, especially. This is the long-term care, I would say, of the unplanned reality. When you look at it from what Dr. Nwosu said, in terms of the declining productivity at that particular time, the time we are talking about, it says about, when you are above 60 or 65 in some other places, there's no doubt that if you ask everybody that, do we have a plan for that time financially, many of us will say yes, in terms of, because we have some retirement planning and other financial plans. I will link it to the fact that we have these two competing situations. People say that we have human capital and you have financial capital. At the time, our human capital is very high. That's when we have huge capacity to do a lot of things, work for gains, earn income. But at that moment in time, when that we are talking about, that's above 65 after retirement, the point is that the productivity declines and human capital declines. And what we have is that financial capital. So the question is that in the financial capital we have, how huge is it to cater for this long-term care, these health issues? If we don't have it huge, if we don't plan for it, definitely the need to cater for health issues will probably affect significantly the financial capital. From one of the meetings, there are 3 key Ds. They said 3 Ds to financial destruction. The first one is death, the second one is divorce, and the last one is disease. Disease, if we don't plan for health care as a sort of diseases, as sort of health issues, illness that are come at that time, what we witness is that it will eat deep into the financial accumulations, what we have accumulated over the years, and that is not good for anybody. And so the reality is that 70% of everybody aging in the age of over 65 is going to witness some health issues. The question is whether we have financial plans for that time. As I said, if we don't have it and we think that we have retirement plan, the truth is that health issues is a huge risk to our retirement plan. There are about 4 key risks that we face after retirement. The first one is longevity risk, the risk that will live longer than even anticipated. And that's when you face the real health issues. If there are no financial plans to take care of that time, it becomes a major issue and it eats deeply into our financial wealth. And the second risk is the risk of inflation. Today, inflation is about 21.9%. At maybe 5 years ago, we were thinking about around 12%, 13%. Nobody knows what is going to happen in the near future or when we are above that age. The question is that if you don't have a very good plan that has factored in fully or to a very reasonable extent the inflation, then we are going to be seriously affected in our financials. Then the next one is lack of flexibility. If you don't have a good plan that take care of that time in terms of health issues, good plan, then there will be the need to be flexible in how do you convert. Do you have your asset that is liquid that you can easily convert to liquidity, or you don't have it? Maybe they are more in liquid assets and you now be struggling. Meanwhile, health issues is facing you squarely at that time. Then that will be a huge risk. And the last one is the volatility. Investments that we have, how volatile are they? Nothing is predictable. The future is not predictable, and you don't know how volatile the time will be that will affect deeply into what you think you have earned or you have accumulated over the years. So to really plan is something that is very important for the long-term care. And I think it is time we took this seriously and that we address it individually in our financial life. For everybody, there's a financial life, and this is key, because when financial life, when your other life, when they're okay, and the financial life is not taken care of, it becomes also more dangerous. You can also have financial life properly taken care of, and you don't have other life not properly taken off. So you need to strike a balance in all of these. So the unplanned reality of that future, it is time today to take care of it, to plan for it, so that we don't have any issue. Dr. Nwosu has said a lot that we can't just go thank him for all these insightful presentations. But how do we take it to the next level by way of taking care of financials in a way that we address many of the issues that he has raised? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sulaiman. Thank you so much for educating us on the financial perspectives and about having a robust financial life. The 4 things we should consider: longevity risk, inflation risk, lack of flexibility, and volatility. And he also spoke about the 3 Ds: death, divorce, and disease. So thank you very much for this. We'll quickly go to the question and answer session. And the first question, I'm actually throwing it to both the 2 speakers. When is the right time to put your long-term care plan into action? I want Dr. Nwosu to explain that, to speak to us on that from the medical perspective, while Sulaiman will also explain that to us from the financial perspective. So, Dr. Nwosu, the first question: when is the right time to put your long-term care plan into action?
Well, I would say that this is as soon as possible. Why do I say that? If you adopt healthy lifestyle early, you're actually influencing your long-term care, because you're going to be healthier, for many years to come. You're going to slow down the decline, the health decline we are talking about. So that's affecting your long-term care. Let me give you an example. In Nigeria today, I've seen a lot of young adults, 18, 19, 20 years old, in universities that are having high blood pressure, and they come to see me. Their family, they are worried, real high blood pressure. And when you just look at the history, go and find out what they are eating. They eat Indomie, they eat biscuit with Fanta or Coke, they eat bread, no vegetable, no fruit, and they eat 1 or 2 meals a day. Diet is the problem. They don't even exercise. So when I see them, I just tell them, this is your problem. This is what you need to go and do. Change your diet, do this, do that. Start on this medication right now, but if you do the right thing with time, we take off the medication. So starting, good health, essential aids early is part of long-term care, because you're going to stay healthy. And then when you retire, you can enjoy that environment with golf and swimming and cycling and all that stuff, because you have the functional ability and intrinsic capacity. So the question is as early as possible. I would say from 20 years old, start planning, thinking about long-term care, because you want to live a very long, healthy life. Now, That's it. But again, part of it also affordability, and that is also what Suleiman comes in, because it's good to start early to save for the rainy day. Okay, you have to have the funds to enjoy all these things, and so that you can actually retire early and have time to enjoy your life.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nwosu. Thanks for doing justice to that question. Suleiman Adedokun, please, I'd like you to give us your feedback from a financial perspective.
Okay, thank you very much.
Time.
With respect to that question, I can't but just agree with Dr. Nwosu in terms of starting early. The earlier you start, the better, because of the funds, the costs involved, and what you need to prepare for. Again, most of the time it depends upon the health status. Definitely, you are going to be incurring annual costs, and when you are talking about over 65 or over 60 years, you are talking about more expenses that will be going to health issues. So the more funds you have, the more buffer you are in terms of funds to take care of health issues, the better. So that there could be disruptions. There could be anything that will affect you that you can easily take care of if you start early and you have built up enough funds to take care of that situation. For people that have chronic issues, health issues, honestly, the earlier the better. In fact, they need to do more aggressively than anybody because they have issues they are contending with and they need more funds to deal with that. So the earlier the better. For 25, 20, it should be part of the plan for everybody really, that you have this particular fund dedicated to this healthcare plan for a long time period, and you are building something that withstand anything that relates to health issue. What if they say that your health issues need to be treated in other countries and you need to be flown out of the country and and the cost is becoming so much, would be so much humongous. The more funds you have, the better you can take that donation at that time. You don't need to go begging anybody for financial assistance because you have some health issues and you need it. And the more you delay it, the worse it becomes.
Yeah, can I just add to this? Because this reminds me of can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Let me just add to this, to what Suleiman is saying. While in the United States in my younger years, they advise you to get life insurance, whole life or disability insurance earlier, because at that age, you're still healthy and your premium, you can even lock it up for many years and your premium are just pennies. But once you develop a disease, maybe you are now in your 40s or 50s and you want to get the same thing, the premium they will give you, you cannot even afford it. And also because of time, the earlier you start, the more you can have compounding interest and get a lot more. So for all those investment and all this, start early, because with time, you're going to end up at a more advantage instead of starting in your 50s or late 40s. It's better to start the investment and thinking about all the financial packages in your 20s. If you have a job and you're thinking about having a family, and then in your 30s, if you have a family, get life insurance when you're younger. Don't wait, when you're in your 40s and 50s.
Thank you very much. I'll quickly go to our second question, and this is for Suleiman. One of the question is what assets, the question is like a two-in-one question, so I'll go with the first one. What assets will I need to acquire or invest now that can help pay for long-term care for me in the future or for my aged parents?
Well, thank you very much for that question. In terms of assets, the most important thing is what do I build up that I can easily have a recourse to at any time I need them. The longer, at what age are you doing that investment? You have different type of assets you can pick up. You just mentioned a life insurance package, or in other climes you have a kind of long-term care insurance that you can put together. And also, you can do investment. You create a portfolio or fund that's working with an advisor. You can estimate that what will I need at that time that I can begin to save for, I can begin to invest in. So they can design a portfolio for you, then invest in that portfolio with that time in mind. There are a lot of assets you can put in, depending upon how long are you talking about, how heavy are you, what type of liquidity needs to be kept for that purpose. Because these are the future variables that are very important in to put to consideration when we are deciding what type of investment, what type of asset to keep in a portfolio. How short is it? How long is it? The longer is it, the heavier you are, you can think of, let me buy asset that I can get more return now while I begin to wind down later. But the shorter it is, I'll be thinking of short-term liquid investment because anything can happen at any time, and I want to have access to the investment. So there are a lot of investment. You can also set up a trust, healthcare trust, that will put funds inside it, a lump sum investment, believing that at least that investment will be growing up, and at a particular time, you can easily have access to it. You don't want to go back to it. People put a kind of irrevocable trust. They set up irrevocable trust. I mean, such that at least the trustee, that the objective of that is to ensure that the only time you have a need for that fund is when you have health issues to address. So these are the assets that you can put investment in. Creating funds that is liquid at any time, building it up on an annual basis is something that is very encouraging, and one need to do that so that you can take care of all these health issues. The HMO is annual fee you pay for your health issues, but it doesn't take care of you having a huge base that you can deal with anything in that. I mean, at the time we are discussing.
Thank you very much, Sulaiman. The next question is actually for Dr. Nwosu. When you mentioned about health insurance scheme, one of the questions asked was, how does this long-term care compare with health insurance scheme? And is annuity plan an option or advisable?
Okay. Let me just talk about your health insurance and long-term care is actually related, but is different for different countries. Scandinavian countries, they are very liberal. I'm not even, they pay a lot of taxes. They pay a lot of taxes, and they provide a lot for their citizens. In fact, they provide everything. So your health is completely covered, 100%. If it's available in the country, everybody gets it, whether you are rich or poor. So, and then if you are sick and you are discharged home and you need help at home, people to come and give you a bath and clean your house, is covered. So such countries covers all those things, so that the greater percentage of your long-term care is actually taken care of. So I would say countries like that is covered. The government, takes care of it. It's like socialism in a way. Okay, but even though they are not socialist country in terms of socialism. Now, if you go to one like America, first of all, America's health insurance is limited. And even in America, some people don't have health insurance in America. If you are very, very, very poor, that you don't have very much to your name, they will give you an insurance called Medicaid. Okay, Medicaid will cover a whole lot. In fact, if you need nursing home, let's say you get very old and all this, they will provide nursing home for you. Now, majority of people in America, the insurance they have has a cap. Okay, for example, even Medicare, which is insurance for the elderly, it has a cap on medication. Let's say, in a year, if your medication costs, more than 10,000, after 10,000, you have to pay for yourself. So they put a cap on it. So you enjoy it after certain limits. And then if you need, for example, transplant, you have heart failure and you need to go into transplant, Medicare does not cover transport, but in Scandinavia, they can cover it. So to get those services that is not covered by traditional insurance, you have to buy supplemental insurance. And that will also include long-term care. Let's say you need to go into assisted living, you have to purchase insurance to cover that. Maybe from assisted living, you get very sick that you need to go to nursing home, you have to have insurance to cover it. From nursing home, maybe you are dying and your family can't take care of you, you have to go to hospice, where you now will die in a very dignified environment. You have to have insurance to cover that. So America doesn't cover a lot of them. So you're on your own, and that is why you need to plan for it and do that. Now, annuity, this is actually the one that Suleiman should cover. But my knowledge of annuity is that you put money, your own money, you put it there and say at this time, you're gonna start drawing that, maybe 20,000 a year or 50,000 a year or 10,000 a year, depending on how much you fund the annuity. So those are some of the investment options that you can use to save money or provide fund for your retirement. So that's basically that. So some countries, long-term care is covered. In a place like America, part of it is covered and the other one you're on your own, and you have to plan for it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Nwosu. The next question is for Suleiman. It's from one of the attendees. What strategies or investment options would you recommend to effectively hedge against the potential impacts of increasing inflation rates on our financial retirement plans?
Thank you very much for that question. I would say it's about putting up a portfolio. And I think this is why you need to meet with your advisors, what of asset manager. You have investment, some of the instrumental investment that actually they hedge against inflation. You have the real estate investment, you have the equity investment to some extent. I mean, some equity investment, you have hedge against inflation, but you can't just go there and just pick some stocks that you don't know about and invest in it. Building a portfolio, and this is what I said earlier, because of the peculiarity of this type of investment, it's a focused investment. You have a plan and you are trying to invest towards achieving an objective. You must be very careful of what to put in that portfolio. First, you need to hedge against inflation, very important, because I mean at that time the cost of maintaining, the cost of care is increasing and inflation is involved, and you need to hedge against that inflation. So you must be able to build a portfolio that hedge against the inflation. Real estate investment, equity investment, some fixed income investments that believe that can hedge against inflation. We don't have instruments here that actually hedge against inflation, but by building a portfolio of investment, we can actually do that towards hedging against inflation. So this is what I would advise. If you look at some of the instruments we have today, maybe it's federal government bond and other bonds, the rate of return on them, they are not even up to the inflation we are witnessing. Some of them are giving off 14, 15%, and inflation about 21.9%. That's a negative return already. That is not hedging against inflation. But the most important is that what return am I looking at? And this is a planned investment, it's a planned portfolio. In the next 20 years, I'll be 65, or 15 years, I'll be 55, and I need to build up this particular amount. I need to have about 200 million, 250 million, or 150 million as investment. And something I have that I can be drawing on for my health issues. Then I need to plan about it now. What amount am I dropping now? What lump sum am I investing now? What bucket am I creating now for this particular investment? And what return am I expecting? Then working with the asset manager, they're able to draw up investment that believe that will hedge against it, that will meet this particular investment targets. Real estate is there, equity is there, and a mix of other investment that factor in the risk, the volatility of the market, and also the inflation. Very key. So this is what I would just advise as against just pin down on a particular instrument. I'm trying to advise against like buying a real estate alone. Yeah, you can invest in real estate alone because it edges against inflation. But the challenge is that for liquidity purpose, when you need a fund, anything can happen anytime. We are not the one controlling our life, and health issues can come up at any time. So to what extent do you have liquidity of the real estate that you can just quickly draw on? Many people talk about what about getting a loan against the equity, against the real estate. In some clients, other clients, there's a reverse mortgage. People put their homes, the old senior citizens, they put their home for loan, and they use that loan to take care of themselves. But we are in a different environment, and I think we must weigh a lot of things very well and build a portfolio towards addressing this. In terms of insurance scheme that address some of this investment, this option, healthcare issue, you have the long-term care insurance, you have the annuity and life. There can be a combination of life insurance and annuity insurance, but the same thing we are still going to end up with. You build on annuity, you buy an annuity. What happens is that you pay a particular sum now, or you continue to pay some premium, so that when it comes to a particular time, then the insurance company pay you to attend to your health issues. But I believe that you need to be in charge of this investment. You must be able to draw on it at any time. So buying life insurance, buy annuity, building a portfolio, or setting up a trust with a portfolio in it, a fund in it that addresses the need, that is building up significantly. You can add to it because you have a target. And having a target, setting a target is a function of a proper assessment of where am I now in terms of my health issues and what am I building for? What goal am I trying to achieve? This is the way I believe we should address the area of building a portfolio towards meeting healthcare issues, solving healthcare issues.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sulaiman. We're almost rounding off the webinar. I have one more question for Dr. Ngosu and one other one for Sulaiman before we call it a day. Doctor, during the course of your presentation, you mentioned about the retirement communities, and that presently now we don't have in Nigeria. One of the attendees asked that is joining from Canada. Do they have an assisted and independent living care in Canada? Since you spoke about, okay, something like that in United States. And the second question is that for a Nigerian environment where we don't have the retirement communities, even though you shared some homes, just very few, is it better for a family member to go to a care home or relocate to a family house?
Well, first of all, the easy one is Canada and America. Listen, America and Canada is almost the same country. Whatever is in America is in Canada. Generally speaking, I can tell you that. So I really think in Canada there is, if you look. Now, coming to the need in Nigeria, whether to be at home or to go to retirement community, it depends on the support. If you have, and the need of the elderly, if you have an elderly that is demented, for example, and you can get somebody that can watch the person, stay with the person, 24/7, help to give them a shower, put on their clothes, take them out and take a walk and walk around the garden and all that stuff, then the person can be home because you have the child. Now, you may have a relative that can do it, or you may have to pay somebody, but make sure that that person will do a good job. Because if you do, then you don't need to go to a care home, because care home will be doing the same thing. So when you can't, or when the stress is too much on the family and you don't have, and you have the resources or money, then you go to, you do at home. If you don't, then you go to a care home. So it depends. And also remember that the needs are different. Somebody might not be demented, but they are very frail, okay? They are very weak and they might fall if they don't steady and all that stuff. So if you take them to a facility, because you can't provide some of those care at home, you take them to a facility that they can provide physical therapy 3 or 4 times a week. They create an environment where they can socialize with some, elderly people, and they do a game together and talk about their younger years together and all that stuff. That might be a good environment. But if there is also one that from home, you can take there in the evening, or during the day, and bring them back at home, that is fine. So you have to look at what the situation is for you. And it's not a one, that fits all. So it has to be individualized, okay? So that's the way to look at it. But there are sometimes that the burden is too much, the care is too much to handle at home. Then in that case, you look for a nice facility that can provide the need of the patient.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for doing justice to that question. And to the last question for today, it's we're addressing this to Sulaiman. If you have any other questions, I'm speaking to our attenders. There's a link that's been shared and an email that has also been shared in the chat box. You can actually send us an email, or you can fill that form, and we'll definitely contact you with any other questions, because our time is fast running. So Sulaiman, this is from 2 attendees, but the questions are very similar. The first question is, in view of the prevailing high inflation rates, what type of investment do you advise aside from keeping money in USD to retain value over time? And the second question is, Sulaiman, in view of the depreciating value of the Naira, hedging in dollar-denominated instruments always have advantages, but the dividend yield are so low. So how do we now invest internationally?
Thank you very much. The 2 questions here, you said they are similar relating to foreign exchange investment or holding investment in a foreign exchange. And I think the truth is that FX investment in dollar actually is a hedge against inflation. And as you have rightly said, the yield is low. The yield is low because internationally too, the investments, the yield in investment on investment is not so rosy, if you know what I mean. To invest internationally, you must be very, very careful. It is not all international investment that is good, especially at our scale. So when you also invest, when you are holding currency here, what you get from it is maybe between 6, 7, 8%. In most of instances, you get almost about 5 or 6%. So the question is that, do you want to hold that currency and still believe that you are doing better? At least you are gaining advantage against the local currency and still getting something on it. Or you turn them, you convert them to local currency and you face the depreciation. So I still believe that holding foreign currency as part of the portfolio is very good, especially when you know that there's a purpose for this particular fund. When somebody is having some health challenges and most of the needs will be to fly that individual offshore, and it will come, or it can come, the best to hold some investment in foreign currency and not everything. Because if you also invest, if you don't believe that most of the needs will be attended to locally, that's why you need to do some investment, put it in local currency, investing it in some instrument or investment that will hedge against inflation. So if you ask me, really, I believe that we should, it's like you are trying to get, you want to put the fund in foreign currency in dollar and you get better return on it. You must be preparing for a huge risk. Many people that invested offshore, it's not everything that is rosy like that. You face challenges in those investments. And for people that have participated in either bond investment, equity investment offshore, I don't think it has been that rosy from experience from, the last few years. So I think the local market has actually done well, but the point is that holding the instrument, holding your fund, your fund in dollar investment itself is a hedge and is a better return than just still holding it in local currency. So I would still prefer you hold it in dollar investment, in foreign currency, and you are still getting something on it, which is better. Whatever you are getting on it is still better there's high volatility and of the exchange rate that you don't want to also witness. And we believe that we expect with some improvement that we are witnessing, there might be reduction in that depreciation of volatility that will make most of the investments better in local currency if we get things right locally.
Thank you very much, Sulaiman. Thank you very much. It's been very educative. It's been very insightful. It's been very interesting for me personally, and I'm sure for a lot of attendees based on the questions and comments in the chat box. Thank you very much, Dr. Nwosu. For to our attendees, we are not taking questions again now, but you can always reach out to us with your personal inquiries or any questions you have. There's a link that's been dropped in the chat box where you can actually fill, or you can send an email to us. An email address has also been dropped in the chat box, wealthadvisory@meristemng.com. A wealth advisor will definitely attend to you. We're rounding up the webinar shortly, and I'm also thanking our speakers, Dr. Nwosu, for coming, for sharing from your wealth of knowledge. Also, thanks to Sulaiman Adedokuntu for also sharing on the financial perspective for today's webinar. For our closing remarks, I'll call on the head of our wealth advisory here in Meristem, Fumilola Adekola Daramola, to give us some closing.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I really do hope that it has been a very insightful session to us all. I'd like to thank our dear speaker, Dr. Eugene Nwosu. We really appreciate your topic, the topic that you shared with us, and how long-term care, we have to start making plans towards it, not just in the medical side of it, but also financially. For some of our attendees that are joining or knowing about Meristem for the very first time, we are a one-stop financial services provider, cutting across 6 subsidiaries, wealth management, Meristem Capital, Meristem Stockbrokers, Meristem Trustees, Meristem Registrars, and finally, Meristem Finance. We are really glad that you could join us today. And if you do have any other questions that you would like us to speak on, or any of your financial needs that you would like us to take that journey with you, please send us an email. Like we've been told during the course of the presentation, our email address is wealthmanagement@meristemng.com or wealthadvisory@meristemng.com. We really appreciate your presence, and we do hope that any other time that we call on you, you would grant us with your presence and would join us to make the presentations a very lively one. Thank you again, Dr. Eugene Nwosu. Really appreciate your presence. Thank you so much, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Fumi, and thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks very much. Thank you very, very much. Have a great day.